Let's take a look at the coffered ceiling now, which is deceptively simple to do, but I'll still do a quick walkthrough of it. Okay, so you'll notice what we have is we've got a solid kind of rib that goes down the middle, and then several that go in the opposite direction, and then we've got the recessed coffer here with some molding. So we're definitely going to be using follow me, but we'll also be using multiply and copy and all that good stuff. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at our original model now. Go back to my working perspective shot. I'm going to unhide that ceiling stuff. Okay, so I'm now going to delete this because this is just a plane that was in place that shows us how high our ceiling is, and that's great. We know where it is. So I'm just going to select that line, that rectangle, and delete it. I'm going to make a new one from this point here to this point out here. Click. Okay, great. Double click and make that into a group. Now I want to find, using my guide, my tape, I want to find that midpoint. So I'm just going to drag it straight along, and you'll always find the midpoint of a line or a shape if you are dragging along the opposite axis and you just kind of move your mouse to a point where you can pop to it. So I've hit that midpoint, and I want to make this, let's go 8 inches in this direction and 8 inches in this direction. And I'll do the same thing in this direction here. So click to that point, and I'm going to go 8 and 8. Now all along the edge I only want 4. So I'll just go along the edge and I'm going to do 4, 4, 4, and 4. Now I'm going to do that same trick I did with my little dummy shape that I'm just using for reference. So I'm going to come right to this point. I'm going to click from point to point, make this into a new group, and I'm just going to copy this from the edge. So I'm using the edge as a reference, and I'm copying it all the way to the edge of that. And I'm going to do divide by 3. Let's do divide by 4. You know what? How about I do this? How about I check and see what I did over here? Okay. Yeah, divide by 3 was right. Okay, so let's do that again. Starting from this edge to that point, all the way to the line I just made for myself. Divide by 3. Now, I don't have to do any more thinking because I've got the guides in place and I've got these new shapes that I brought into place as well. So I've opened up the plane for this ceiling, and this shape should be the same for all 3. So I'm copying a shape on the face of the rectangle here, and I'm moving from this point, copying again to that point, and doing times 3. Whoops, times, I mean 2. Okay, great. So now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 little rectangle shapes. I'm double clicking on all of them to select them all, and I'm going to copy again all the way across like this. Click. Okay, great. Don't need my guides anymore, so I'm going to edit, delete those, and I'm going to delete, 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 delete that. Let's just isolate this, and let's bring this little guy back. So I'm copying my crown again. We're going to reuse that. So I'm just going to place that crown somewhere right there. Select this, and let's lock. Select everything else, hide, and then unlock. Okay, so I've got a little crown sitting below, and I've got my division of what will become recessed coffers here. I'm going to push this up 6 inches. Now I can just go ahead and match. Just clicking and referencing, clicking once and referencing all the way down the line. Okay, great. Now I got to move my crown into place. So I move it up a little bit, and then I move it over from this point to that point. Now, because this rectangle shape is the same repeated over and over again, I don't have to take as much trouble as I did with my wall paneling. So I'm making a new rectangle that's just going to be my path, and I'm moving it straight down the blue axis. Let's move it down 2 feet. so that it's just below and this in the same exact place, but just straight down from that shape. Delete the center, and then this is now my path. We're getting a little bit used to this at this point, hopefully. Explode that crown profile, double click on this rectangle, and then use follow me to follow that path. Now remember, I had that material applied to this, so I need to right click. In fact, what I should probably do in my materials palette is just select that, remove it, and replace. And it'll just replace it with the default material. So now it's the underside. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to reverse the faces and then group it. Close that bucket thing down. Group it. Okay, great. Don't need the path anymore. So I can go ahead and select that and delete it. I'll select this crown that I've gotten one, and I will make this into a component because it's going to be the same every time. Copy it once over in this direction, and then select them both, and using the top corner of the bottom of the plane here, that's this, or the shape of the coffer, I'm going to copy it again, just drag it over to this point, which is my next reference point, and I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so times 5, enter. And now I've got all of those repeated in. Select the whole thing and group it. So when I open this up, I've got one group and then the groups of all of these components sitting within. And if I double click on them and I want to apply a material, it'll apply to all of those. So I would do the same thing for this one as well. That's how I would get that coffered look. And yeah, that's pretty much it for that, for the ceiling. Pretty straightforward.